All right, so we're diving into Ryan Holiday's Ego is the Enemy today.
Yeah, very
And
good one.
I'm already getting the sense that this is going to be one of those deep dives that helps us no matter where we are in our journey.
Absolutely.
It's
Applicable to everyone.
Yeah, so from what I understand,
Yeah.
Holiday basically argues that
Yeah.
ego can really trip us up at any stage.
I feel
Whether
that.
we're just starting out or
Yeah.
we're already successful or even when we're dealing with failure.
At every stage, yeah.
Oh,
He
okay.
uses a lot of great historical examples too to kind of illustrate his points.
Well, let's start then with that first stage, aspiration.
Okay.
So when we're just starting out, we all have these big dreams and ambitions,
All
right?
right.
But Holiday suggests that this is where ego can be especially sneaky.
Oh, it is.
How so?
Because it whispers this idea in your ear that talent alone is enough. You get so caught up in the potential of what you could be
Okay.
that you spend more time talking about it than actually doing the work.
Like that author, Upton Sinclair.
Yes.
Holiday talks about how he actually wrote a book called I, Governor of California, before he even won the election.
He did, and I think
That's a bold move.
it was a 100-page book, so it wasn't like a
Right.
little pamphlet.
But then his campaign failed miserably.
He did.
Right.
And Holiday basically uses that as an example of how you can get so caught up in the fantasy
Right.
of what it would be like to achieve your goal
Right.
that you actually neglect
You don't do the work.
the actual
Yeah.
work involved.
So then how do we avoid falling into that trap?
Okay, so
This all talk and no action
yeah.
thing.
So Holiday actually talks about John Boyd.
Okay.
He was a brilliant military strategist, and he really believed in quietly mentoring others instead of chasing fame.
His impact ended up being huge, though.
It was huge.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he really shaped military strategy behind the scenes.
So is that kind of the approach that we should be aiming for?
Yes, and it all comes down to humility.
Okay.
Boyd understood that true mastery requires continuous learning,
Okay. So
and he never stopped being a student,
humility.
even as he was achieving these incredible things.
Got it.
Yeah.
But how do we actually cultivate humility?
Okay, well,
Especially when we're feeling so ambitious and driven when we're starting out.
yeah, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
very delicate balance.
Yeah.
So Holiday gives us a few actionable steps.
Okay.
The first one is to shift your focus from talking about your goals to actually doing the work.
Okay.
That's number one.
Just
Number two is to actively seek out feedback, even the critical kind, because that can help
Oh.
us illuminate our blind spots.
yeah.
And then finally, embrace delayed gratification.
Ooh, delayed gratification.
Understand that you're earning your success, you're not entitled to it.
Right.
Yeah.
So basically, put in the hours, be open to learning, and
Yeah.
understand that the journey is just as important as the destination.
Absolutely.
All right, so we've talked about the aspiring stage.
Yes.
But what happens when we actually start achieving those goals and we taste that success?
Ooh, that's where things get interesting.
Right.
That's where ego really starts to flex its muscles.
Okay.
And that's what we'll unpack next.
All right, let's dive into that.
Yeah. Okay, so now let's unpack that next stage, success.
Okay.
Success is tricky because it can be so intoxicating,
It can.
and that's when ego really starts to flex its muscles.
It is interesting because we often hear about the dangers of ego when we're struggling
Right?
or when we're facing failure.
Exactly.
But Holiday's kind of flipping the script here.
Yeah.
He's saying that ego is even more dangerous when we're winning.
Absolutely, because success whispers in your ear that you're special.
Oh, okay.
You're invincible almost.
Right.
Suddenly, you start believing that you're above the rules. And that can lead to a really dangerous sense of entitlement and this need for absolute control.
It's like Howard Hughes, right?
Yes.
Holiday uses his story as like the ultimate cautionary tale.
Yeah, he was incredibly successful at a young age.
But his ego basically drove him to become a recluse.
It did. He was consumed by paranoia and distrust.
It's almost like his success became his downfall.
Exactly. And, what's really interesting is that his downfall wasn't like this sudden crash.
Right.
It was this slow, insidious erosion caused by this unchecked ego.
So how do we avoid becoming a Howard Hughes then?
Yeah, that's the question.
How do we navigate success without letting our ego completely take the wheel?
Holiday offers a few powerful antidotes, so to speak.
Okay.
So first, we need to stay a student even at the top.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, the moment we think we've learned it all is the moment we stop growing.
I never really thought about it that way. You'd think success would actually give you the confidence to stop learning.
Right. You've made it.
Just kind of,
You can rest on your laurels.
Yeah, rest on your laurels and just start enjoying it.
But that's a recipe for disaster.
But it sounds like that's actually the opposite of what we should be doing.
It is, yeah.
So we need to constantly be learning and growing.
Yes, and a good example here is Genghis Khan.
Okay.
He wasn't born a brilliant strategist,
Yeah.
but he was a relentless learner.
Okay.
He was constantly adapting his strategies,
Right.
integrating the best ideas and technologies from the cultures that he was conquering.
So it sounds like he was actually really humble in a way.
Yes, very much so.
Always willing to learn from others.
And that's ultimately how he built one of the largest empires in history.
Wow. I never thought I would see Genghis Khan held up as an example of humility.
Right.
That's pretty amazing.
It challenges our assumptions about what it means to be successful.
It really does.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's staying a student. What else?
The second strategy is to define what truly matters to you.
Okay.
Success can easily distract us from our core values.
Right.
And we can end up chasing things that we never really wanted in the first place.
It's like Ulysses S. Grant, the Civil War hero.
Yes.
He became president.
You did.
But he wasn't a very good one.
No, not at all.
He was brilliant on the battlefield, but it seems like he was kind of lost when he entered the political arena.
Yeah, perhaps he hadn't really defined what success meant to him.
Right, outside of
Outside of the battlefield.
the battlefield.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just about achieving those goals,
No.
but making sure that they actually align with our values,
Exactly.
that we're defining success on our own terms.
Yes, because otherwise you just end up achieving this hollow,
Right.
empty version of success.
Okay, that's a really important point.
It is, yeah.
So what else can we do?
The third strategy is all about practicing sobriety,
Okay,
not just in the literal sense,
right.
but in terms of resisting those trappings of success.
Okay, got it.
Staying grounded, not letting the allure of fame and fortune kind of cloud your judgment.
And Holiday contrasts Bill Walsh,
Yes.
the legendary coach of the San Francisco 49ers.
Yes.
He contrasts him with Howard Hughes,
Right.
who we were just talking about.
Yeah, great example.
So what's the difference there?
Well, Walsh was known for his incredible focus and discipline.
Okay.
He didn't let success go to his head.
Right.
He remained committed to the process,
Okay.
to building a culture of excellence, whereas Hughes,
Right.
allowed his ego to take over.
Right.
He became obsessed with control.
Right.
And he isolated himself.
Yeah.
And ultimately sabotaged his own achievements.
So it's like we have to maintain that same work ethic and discipline
Yes.
that got us to the top in the first place.
Absolutely.
Don't let the perks and the praise distract us from those fundamentals.
Yeah, don't get complacent.
Don't get complacent. Okay.
Okay, and then finally,
Okay.
Holiday talks about the importance of embracing a larger perspective.
Okay.
We're all part of something bigger than ourselves.
Right.
Whether it's our team, our community, our country,
Right.
humanity as a whole.
It's recognizing that our success isn't just our own, right?
Exactly.
It's the result of a lot of different factors.
Collaboration, support, a little bit of luck.
Exactly.
And a great example here is Angela Merkel.
Okay.
She's known for her very quiet,
Right.
pragmatic leadership style.
She's not flashy.
She's not flashy at all.
Yeah.
She doesn't get caught up in the drama or the ego of politics.
Right.
Her focus is on serving the needs of her country,
Okay.
not on building her own image or legacy.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So to navigate those tricky waters of success,
Right.
we need to stay grounded,
Okay.
define our values,
Mhm.
maintain our discipline, and keep that larger perspective in mind.
Okay, so that's how we navigate success.
Yes.
But what about the final stage, failure?
Ooh,
That's
yes.
got to be a breeding ground for ego,
Absolutely.
right?
Let's dive into that.
Okay, so we've talked about how ego can really sabotage us during those early stages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aspiration,
Right.
and even when we're experiencing success.
It's sneaky.
Yeah.
It can really sneak up on you.
But what about failure?
Ooh, yeah.
That's got to be a breeding ground for ego, right?
It is. Failure can feel like a punch in the gut.
Yeah.
And ego hates that feeling. It would much rather make excuses,
Right.
justify its actions than actually admit any wrongdoing.
It's funny you say that because it makes me think of how Katharine Graham handled the Watergate scandal.
Ooh, yes.
I mean, that must have been a huge blow to her ego.
That was.
Not to mention the potential damage to the Washington Post's reputation.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was the defining moment for her.
Right. It was, and it's a perfect example of how to handle failure with grace and resilience.
Because instead of panicking or trying to cover things up, she basically just said,
Yeah.
Let's pursue the truth.
Yes.
Let's find out what really happened.
She allowed her reporters,
Right.
Woodward and Bernstein,
Right.
to pursue the story.
Even though it meant risking some very powerful enemies.
Which is interesting because she could have easily let her ego dictate her actions,
Oh, absolutely.
and tried to protect her image
Yeah.
and the paper's legacy.
Right.
But she chose, like, the harder path.
She did. She chose integrity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do we cultivate that kind of resilience then?
Okay.
When our ego is screaming at us,
Yeah.
telling us to blame everyone else and
Yes.
wallow in self-pity.
Right. Well, Holiday gives us a few strategies here.
Okay.
First, we need to accept failure as a natural part of the journey.
Okay.
It's not the opposite of success.
Right.
It's a stepping stone to success.
I like that.
Yeah.
Reframing it like that.
It takes the sting out of it a little bit.
It does. It makes it less personal.
Yeah. And think about Malcolm X.
Okay.
His journey from Detroit Red,
Right.
a criminal,
Yeah.
to a powerful leader
Right.
was marked by so many setbacks.
He had a lot of failures.
He did, but he used those experiences to fuel his growth
Okay.
and ultimately find his purpose.
So it's not about avoiding failure.
No.
It's about reframing it
Exactly.
as, like, this necessary part of our evolution.
Is part of the process.
Okay, so that's accepting it.
Yes.
What else does Holiday suggest?
He talks about the importance of maintaining your own scorecard.
What does that mean?
It means judging yourself by your own internal standards,
Okay.
not by external validation.
Okay. Got it.
So it's not about seeking approval from others.
Right.
It's about staying true to your own values and your own goals.
Makes me think of Tom Brady.
Sure.
He was drafted in the 6th round.
Yeah.
Practically an afterthought.
Right.
He could have easily let that define him.
Oh, absolutely.
But instead, he focused on his own development.
He did.
He was constantly pushing himself to be better.
He wasn't driven by this need to prove other people wrong.
Right.
He was driven by this inner desire to excel.
So it's about focusing on our growth and not on what other people think.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
And that ties in really closely with the next strategy,
Okay.
which is letting go of resentment.
Ooh. Yeah.
Holding on to anger and blame only poisons us.
It does.
It keeps us stuck.
Yeah.
Holiday uses the example of Kirk Hammett,
Okay.
who was the guitarist for Metallica,
Right.
and he really struggled to let go of the resentment he felt towards his former bandmates after being kicked out.
It's hard, though,
It is hard.
to let go of that resentment.
It is, but it's crucial for moving forward.
Yeah.
And that includes forgiving ourselves,
Right.
for our own mistakes.
Okay, so we've got to forgive ourselves and others.
Otherwise, we just stay stuck in the past.
Yeah.
We can't learn and grow from our experiences.
So what's the final strategy?
The final strategy is to find meaning in the struggle itself.
Okay.
To see those challenges not as roadblocks, but as opportunities to develop wisdom and strength.
Like Winston Churchill.
Yes.
He faced so many setbacks
He did.
throughout his career,
Throughout his life, yeah.
but he never gave up.
His resilience ultimately led him to become one of the greatest leaders of the 20th century.
It's like our struggles shape us,
They do.
but they
yeah.
don't define us.
And that brings us back to the core message of ego is the enemy.
Yeah.
Ego wants to protect us from discomfort, from failure,
Right.
but it's in those moments of vulnerability
Yeah.
that we truly grow.
So it's not about crushing our ego.
Well,
It's about understanding it,
yes.
learning to lead it with wisdom.
Exactly.
That's a much more empowering perspective.
It's about harnessing that energy of the ego
Right.
and channeling it towards something positive.
Yeah.
Growth, resilience, and a deeper understanding of ourselves.
Well, this has been a truly insightful deep dive.
It has.
I feel like I have a whole new perspective on ego and how to manage it.
Good.
Not just in my career, but in all aspects of my life.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
And remember, this isn't a one-time fix.
Right.
Ego's a constant companion.
It-
But by consciously choosing humility, sobriety, and resilience, we can actually make it an ally
Okay.
in our journey.
So to wrap things up then, I want to leave our listeners with a final thought to kind of chew on.
Okay.
And I'm going to borrow this from Martin Luther King Jr.'s powerful metaphor.
Okay.
Imagine your ego as this stubborn South
Ooh, I like
in
that.
the civil war of your life.
Yeah.
What if instead of trying to crush it, you learn to lead it with wisdom and purpose? Keep sweeping that floor,
Love it.